Let's hold a funeral. Not for someone else, for you. The version of you that smiled when it didn't want to. The version that said, "I'm fine," when it was screaming inside. We're burying the emotional slave, the people pleaser, the overthinker, the one who gave too many chances, stayed in rooms too long and begged for crumbs of acceptance. That version of you is dead because it never truly lived. It only existed to serve, to react, to suffer in silence. And here's a truth that will burn your ears. No man who bows for approval will ever rise to power. If you can't stomach this truth, leave now. But if you can, if you dare to kill your weakest self and walk into fire reborn, then subscribe to this channel. Stay with me. Because what I'm about to tell you is not comfort. It's war against everything that made you weak. This is the first act of power, an internal assassination, to cut the throat of that compliant version of you before the world feasts on it again. You have worshipped at the altar of being nice, thinking it would buy you love, respect, a safe place in the herd. But the herd doesn't love you. It only tolerates you until it needs your blood. As long as you keep clinging to that fragile self, every speech about freedom is fantasy, a bedtime story for domesticated souls. True liberation begins with betrayal, the betrayal of who you used to be. It's painful. It feels like tearing your own skin off. But power has always been born in agony. And tonight, under this black sky of your own making, you either bury the weakling or you die with it. They told you that caring too much makes you human, that offering your heart without caution is noble. What a beautiful lie to keep you chained. Look around. Every ounce of attention you gave too easily became a leash around your neck. You poured loyalty like wine into the cups of unworthy men and women, and they drank until you were empty. And what did they give you in return? Silence, betrayal, a cold shrug that carved your soul hollow. Understand this. Every emotion you hand out without measure is a currency they spend to buy control over you. Caring is not free. It's the most expensive thing you'll ever own. And you, my friend, have been bankrupt for years because you refused to count the cost. If these words sting, good. That sting is the last flicker of pride waking up in your chest, demanding you stop being their servant. Power is born when you dare to starve the leeches, when you stop feeding attention to mouths that never earned it. This society romanticizes the idea of loving unconditionally, giving endlessly, as if it were divine. But divinity doesn't bleed itself dry for parasites. The gods I know take their love like a blade, selective, precise, given only to those who can withstand its weight. You want power? You want respect? Then start treating your care like gold buried deep in the earth. Let them dig. Let them prove. Let them sweat before they get a single grain of it. Because the man who gives himself freely is not loved, not even liked. He is consumed and discarded. Stop being a feast for the unworthy. Make them starve in the dark until they learn your value or die ignorant of it. The world is loud because it fears silence. Every manipulator, every weak soul drunk on control thrives on your reaction. They throw their words like hooks, their insults like bait, their tears like chains, all waiting for you to twitch, to scream, to justify yourself. But when you answer with silence, you become a riddle they cannot solve. They claw at the air, desperate to hear something, anything, because your stillness is a mirror forcing them to face their own filth. The herd doesn't know what to do with a man who refuses to dance to their noise. They call him cold, cruel, arrogant. They don't know that silence is not absence, it's dominance. And dominance terrifies the small-hearted because it reminds them they were never in control. In a world addicted to noise, your quiet becomes a weapon sharper than any blade. It unravels schemes, poisons gossip, leaves tyrants screaming into their own emptiness. A single word spoken in fury can chain you forever. A single outburst can give your enemies a map to your soul. But silence? Silence makes you untouchable. It forces patience upon the impatient, fear upon the fearless pretenders, humility upon the arrogant. Let them stew in their paranoia. Let them choke on the suspense of not knowing where you stand or what you will do. Victory in this war of minds doesn't belong to the one who shouts loudest. It belongs to the one who watches, waits, and moves, only when the world has already surrendered to his calm. Every time you explain yourself, you hand over a thread of your power. You think you're clarifying, you think you're easing tension, but what you're really doing is giving them the blueprint to dismantle you. The masses, the manipulators, the vultures dressed as friends, none of them want your truth. They want your cracks. And every justification you spit out is another crack they can pry open. Power doesn't explain. Power doesn't beg to be understood. It acts. It carves its path through the world like a storm, leaving no room for debate. Do you think lions hold press conferences before they hunt? Do you think kings send apologies before they claim a throne? Explanations are chains disguised as courtesy, and you've worn them for far too long. Mystery is the fortress of the untouchable man. When you stop justifying, you become something the weak cannot grasp. They will demand answers, they will cry for reasons, they will scream accusations in your face, hoping you will kneel and offer a defense. Never give them one. Your silence, your refusal to explain, burns hotter than any word you could say. It tells them you owe them nothing, not your reasons, not your regret, not even your acknowledgement. And that truth unsettles them, because their power only existed in your willingness to explain yourself. The moment you withdraw that, you are free, and they are left shouting at a wall that never answers back. Closure is a fantasy sold to the weak to keep them chained to their pain. You believe you need it. A final talk, a last explanation, some ceremonial ending that will sew up the wounds they left bleeding. But every time you return for closure, you walk willingly into the slaughterhouse of your emotions. They don't want to free you. They want to feed on you one last time. The truth is you don't need closure. You need courage. The courage to cut the rope, to leave their words unanswered, their questions rotting in the air, their guilt unwashed from their own hands. Power is the ability to disappear without a note, without a backward glance, without a shred of your soul left on their table. The world tells you that you can't move on without closure, because the world wants you soft, waiting, dependent on others for your freedom. But freedom is never given. It is taken. Stolen from the jaws of your past. The strongest men I have ever known walked away mid-sentence, letting the door slam on unfinished conversations, on tears begging for a response. And you know what happened? The sun still rose. Life didn't collapse. The only thing that died was the illusion that you needed their permission to be free. Stop seeking clean endings. The world is not clean. Liberation is messy, bloody, brutal, and only the ruthless ever taste it. They will tell you that indifference is cruelty, that not reacting, not bending to their feelings makes you heartless. Let them talk. Let them choke on their judgments. Because real strength is forged in the fire of restraint, not in the chaos of desperation. The man who does not crave applause cannot be bought. The man who does not tremble at criticism cannot be controlled. Indifference is not the absence of feeling, it is the mastery of it. It is the throne from which you watch the storms of human weakness rage below you, untouchable, unshaken. And when the crowd screams for your validation, for your surrender, you answer them with silence and an unblinking stare. That stare is power they can neither seduce nor destroy. Understand this. The world thrives on your need to be loved. They dangle it like a drug, making you chase approval until your knees bleed. Indifference cuts the strings. It makes their games irrelevant, their judgments laughable, their absence powerless. The one who feels nothing for their theater owns the stage they dance upon. Become that man, not bitter, not broken, but sovereign, a fortress of discipline, where no flattery can breach the walls and no insult can touch the core. And if they call you cold, wear it like a crown, because warmth is wasted on those who only approach to steal your fire. True kings burn alone, and they burn brighter because of it. Power is not gained by adding more ties, more promises, more fragile bonds that beg to be protected. Power is born the moment you cut every rope tied to your neck. Most men live as prisoners, calling their chains love, loyalty, a duty. They keep doors open to ghosts that drain them, to habits that rot them, to people who feed on their light while giving nothing back. And yet, they dare to speak of freedom. Freedom while they kneel before memories, before toxic ties, before false debts of the heart. Real power does not negotiate with these chains. It takes a blade to them, mercilessly, until nothing remains but raw, unshackled will. Only then can you walk this earth as a sovereign, no longer a marionette dancing to someone else's strings. The truth is cruel, but I am not here to comfort cowards. Everything that weakens you must burn. Old loves that poison you, friendships that demand your soul yet give no breath in return, explanations that beg for understanding, hopes that rot like spoiled fruit. All of it must go. You cannot be king and captive at the same time. You cannot hold power with one hand while the other clings to dead weight. This is why most men never rise. They lack the courage to torch what holds them back, and so they stay in their golden cages, singing lullabies about connection while their spirit rusts. If you want real power, learn to close doors and throw away the key, not in anger, but in cold, deliberate self-preservation. The man who walks away without a trace is the only man who truly owns himself. Do you feel it now? That faint tremor in your chest as these words rip the illusions you've worshipped for years. That's not fear, it's mourning. You are grieving a version of yourself that was never alive. A puppet, a beggar, a slave to love that cost you your spine. You were told that kindness was a virtue, that tolerance made you holy, that swallowing pain proved your worth. Lies, all of it. They raised you to serve. And you served well, didn't you? Smiling when it killed you, kneeling when you wanted to stand, giving when they only took. But the funeral bells are ringing, and it's time to bury that obedient carcass of a man you used to be. He will not be missed, he deserves no prayers. Let the earth swallow him whole so you can breathe for the first time. But understand this, rebirth is not a gentle thing. It's not a sunrise over soft hills. It's a lightning strike that sets the old world on fire. If you choose this path of power, of self-ownership, there is no going back. You will not be liked. You will not be understood. The herd will hate you for walking away from their slaughterhouse of smiles and handshakes. They will call you arrogant, ruthless, inhuman. Let them, because their love is poison and their approval is a leash. The man who is free stands alone, crowned in silence, feared for the simple fact that he no longer needs anything from anyone. That is the only throne worth dying for, and the only one they can never take from you. Look around you. The world is a circus of weak men begging for permission to exist. They kneel before lovers who despise them, bosses who drain them, crowds that cheer their misery. They confuse obedience for love, compromise for peace, and self-betrayal for kindness. And they dare to call this life. I spit on this life. It is a slow death dressed in virtue. A man who cannot say no, who cannot slam a door, who cannot burn a bridge, is not living. He is merely delaying his own burial. And the earth has no respect for cowards. It devours them silently while they smile through the pain, thinking they've achieved something holy by being harmless. Harmless men are not saints, they are corpses that forgot to fall. I will not whisper this truth because whispers are for priests and politicians. I will scream it into the marrow of your bones. You were not born to be liked. You were not born to play caretaker to unworthy souls. You were not born to explain yourself to insects gnawing at your resolve. You were born to stand above, even if you stand alone. You were born to taste the raw, burning freedom of needing no one. And that freedom does not come cheap. It costs every lie you've told yourself, every chain you've polished thinking it was jewelry, every tear shed for people who would not bleed for you. Kill the weak man inside you or the world will keep killing him for sport. Do you feel offended? Good, let it burn. Because if these words sting, it means the weak man in you is still breathing, still begging for scraps of approval, and I am here to suffocate him. If you want a lullaby, go back to the soft sermons of the herd. Let them tell you you're perfect as you are, let them pat your head while you rot. But if you want truth, the kind that cuts like a blade and rebuilds you sharper than steel, then stay. Like this video now, because only those with the courage to face this fire deserve to walk through it. And if you can't handle this kind of truth, leave. Go back to your chains. The rest of us have kingdoms to build. Understand this, my listener. Subscribing here is not an act of entertainment. It's an oath of war against the mediocrity that raised you. It is a pact to never again kneel for love that costs you your soul, to never again explain your worth to swine, to never again beg for closure from ghosts. If you are ready to kill the weakling they trained you to be, hit that subscribe button, not to follow me, but to declare to yourself, I will not die like the rest of them. The herd can keep its fake peace. You are here to forge your own crown, even if you have to burn the old world to do it. This is the moment where you choose life or slow death. There is no middle ground. Either you tear the mask off, spit on the rules that kept you chained, and step into the fire of rebirth, or you crawl back to the cage they built for you, polish your shackles and call it safety. But know this, the man who chooses comfort over conquest will never taste freedom. He will rot quietly, applauded by the herd, pitied by the strong, forgotten by history. If that is your fate, click away now, return to your quiet despair. But if your blood screams for more, if your chest aches for sovereignty, stay, because I am here to arm you with the brutality required to become untouchable. I do not promise you peace. I do not promise you love. I promise you war. A war against the old self, against the parasites of your past, against the world that feeds on your compliance. It will hurt. It will cost you everything they told you mattered. But on the other side of this slaughter stands a man who cannot be owned, who cannot be tamed, who cannot be broken. If you have the courage to kill the weakling inside you, you will never need their love, their closure, their approval again. You will finally walk this earth with a spine forged in fire, a soul too sharp for their games, and eyes that never look back. This is your choice, funeral or rebirth. Pick now. The morality of the herd is a disease, a doctrine crafted by the weak to enslave the strong. They built churches for obedience, schools for conformity, families that trade freedom for guilt. They want you docile, predictable, chained to their approval like a dog to its master. And you have licked their boots for far too long. Every sorry you spat to keep peace, every forced smile to be accepted, every compromise that made you smaller, that was you kneeling before their altar of mediocrity. But the gods of this false morality deserve no worship. They deserve only fire. Burn their commandments. Burn their rules. Burn the illusions that told you kindness is more important than power, that acceptance is worth your soul. I have walked among men my whole life, and I tell you this, their greatest sin is not cruelty, not arrogance, not lust. It is cowardice dressed as virtue. They fear the truth of themselves, so they make you fear it too. They say humility is divine, self-sacrifice is noble, forgiveness is holy. But all of it serves one purpose, to keep you small, to keep you tame. If you are still chained to these lies, your funeral is not complete. You must carve their commandments from your flesh, spit their poison from your veins, until there is nothing left of the slave they built. Only then will you rise, not holy, not pure, but free. I declare war on this world of hollow virtues and chained hearts, a war not fought with swords, but with a fire that devours illusions, with a silence that crushes the noise of cowards, with a refusal to kneel ever again. They will hate you for it. They will call you a monster for killing the weak man they love to feed on. Let them scream, let them curse, let them burn their tongues on your name, because every insult they throw is proof that you've escaped their slaughterhouse, that you no longer bleed on command. True rebellion is not in banners or protests, it's in the quiet, merciless severing of every tie that ever made you beg. So, rise from the ashes of your own funeral, stripped of the chains they wrapped around your throat since birth. Walk past their laws, their gods, their sentimental traps, and do not look back. Let them keep their fake heaven of apologies and compromises. You were born for something greater, a freedom so raw, so untouchable, that the herd will tremble just by feeling your presence. But this crown cannot be given. It must be seized, stolen from the hands of weakness, and worn without shame. This is the only war worth fighting, the only victory worth claiming, sovereignty over yourself. This is your last warning, your final truth. No one is coming to save you. Not love, not God, not society. Salvation is a myth sold to keep you obedient. The only savior you will ever meet is the one you forge from the corpse of your old self. But forging is violence. It is breaking bone and spirit, melting what you were into something harder, sharper, impossible to bend. The world will not clap for you. It will not welcome this new you. It will fear you, and that fear will taste sweeter than all the fake love you once begged for. So choose now. Walk back into the arms of weakness, let them rock you to sleep in your coffin of comfort, or burn it all. Kill the man who served, who begged, who apologized for existing, and rise as something untouchable. This channel is not for the faint-hearted. It is for the sovereign, for those willing to slaughter their old chains. Subscribe if you dare, if you are ready to spit on the lies you were fed, to build a life so free it terrifies the world. But no, once you step out of the grave, there is no return. The weak man stays buried forever.